Chargers won big this weekend, even though Jim Harbaugh experienced a really scary medical issue. USC dropped another close game, and UCLA is starting to look really good. This and more on LA Football Report. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the LA Football Report. Each week, we're going to be delivering you all of the news, analysis, injuries, betting, fantasy football, all to deal with LA football teams, Los Angeles Rams, Los Angeles Chargers, USC Trojans, and UCLA Bruins. My name is James Brizuela, and joining me each and every week is the master of the X's and O's, John J-Rob Robinson IV.
What's up, everyone? My name is John. You can call me J-Rob. Actually, please call me J-Rob. I play football at the University of Connecticut and Tennessee State University. Big Northeast guy, but shout out to Los Angeles giving me the opportunity to put this handsome face on the screen and talk to you guys everything Los Angeles sports. So I'm really excited to be here, James.
Just as J-Rob just said, he's a former collegiate player, Division I collegiate player. Both of us combined, we have years of digital media experience. Our articles are all over the place on Sports Illustrated, on Players' Choice, on Newsweek. We've been covering football. This is all we talk about. We talk about football. I know we're new. I know we probably look like we fell out of the sky, and now we have this football show. But I guarantee that we are going to be delivering you guys the best content each and every week as the season goes on. Beyond that, we're going to give you exclusive interviews. In fact, we're going to be talking about an exclusive interview that I got to do in this episode. You'll see more of that later, but all of that good stuff. Please join us each and every week for all of that. We hope you like what you see, and we're going to keep delivering you all the great LA football content. So let's get right into it. The Los Angeles Chargers picked up a huge win against the Denver Broncos. They're now 3-2 on the year. 23-16 was the final score. So what did we see? What did we like?
So the first thing I want to do, I want to give kudos to the defense. The defenses look good all year. I think from 2 seasons ago when they were under Brandon Staley, that was really one of their biggest Achilles heels. They couldn't really stop anybody. One of the worst defenses, despite the talent. Like, this was a defense that had Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., you got Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, but they really weren't able to stop anybody. But now this team actually looks like a well-oiled machine. So I am impressed on the defensive end. My biggest concern, though, they don't have a number 1 receiver.
This is something that we talked about quite a bit off camera, and I know we're bringing it up now. Like, this is something that we've been talking about in depth. It's still that. It's still that for them. This is the concern that we had. DJ Chark, not really it. They do got Ladd McConkey, and he's showing flashes, but he's more of like a middle of the field attacker. He's more of a yards after the catch kind of guy. He's not really a true wide receiver, number 1 wide receiver. Yep. Quentin Johnston, same thing. He showed flashes. He caught some good passes. He got a little hurt, but he's not that down the field stretcher. He's not that person for them. So I'm actually a little concerned about it because this is something that we've talked about. The good news is one of my biggest critiques of Justin Herbert is he has not thrown the ball down the field a whole lot. That's the offense. They're more of a run offense right now. However, they did surprise me. They did surprise me on Sunday. I was very pleasantly surprised about that fact. But again, they don't have a down the field receiver just yet. They're waiting for somebody to kind of step up and take on that role, but there's nobody there. So I'm kind of wondering, are they going to go for somebody at the trade deadline? It's coming up November 5th. Not that far away. I'm thinking maybe they make a play for somebody because they need that receiver.
Honestly, I got a name for you. Calvin Ridley.
Oh?
He's clearly not happy in Tennessee. Looks like Tennessee's probably going to be one of the teams that have a top 5 pick in this upcoming NFL draft. He's already showed his displeasure with how things are going. And obviously, when you sign for $90+ million to a team like the Titans, there's going to be an expectation that there's going to be some growing pains there. But he's a receiver that can impact the Chargers right now. I think ultimately what I did like is they attempted to target these wide receivers to give them opportunity. I mean, Lance McConkey got 10 targets.
Yeah.
So they're throwing the football. Obviously, you would want more production. But also, to your point, Justin Herbert threw it 34 times.
Even on that, just to add a little extra flavor on that, he was 19 for 20 at the half. That was very surprising because they've been running the football a lot. And again, they still did. J.K. Dobbins was going crazy, which is what you need. But the moment they started implementing both of the run game and the pass game, look how good that offense was. They went up 23-0 at the half. Yeah. They were coasting to a win already at that point. Yeah. And they were mixing in both of their dynamic run game and also letting Justin Herbert throw the ball a little bit. But it's still, we're not really seeing him open it up, but that's because they don't have that receiver.
But the good thing about it too is this is why Justin Herbert is one of the best talents at the position, because when you look at a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, the obviously Justin Herberts of the world, these are players that don't always have to have a premier guy in the perimeter to be effective because of the type of talents they are. And when you're a franchise quarterback, you're going to have to make do. You ask Mahomes to do it. Listen, the Rams are asking Matthew Stafford to do it right now. You know, you got to find a way to win despite your circumstances. And that was great to see. But you know what I was also very thrilled to see? Rashawn Slater played one of the best games at left tackle, if not the best game at left tackle of anybody in football this past weekend.
He did get hurt, though. Yeah. He got hurt. He was taken out. And then this was actually on that. This was like one of the first games where we actually saw them put in some backups, and they did really well. Foster Sorrell was in there. And then Sawyer, which I'm not as familiar with, but they jumped in, they got the job done, and Rashawn Slater came back out. Everything was good. But, you know, Hayden Hurst, Deion Leonard, and Trey Pipkins hurt. Like, they keep getting hurt, but I think they're kind of figuring out, like, who those core guys are that can step in and still keep the ball going.
And I think the other part about it is, James, they know their identity.
Yeah.
Like, they know what they need to do to win every night. And the thing is, with football, is the next man up mentality. And so when the next man up knows what my role is on this football team, you're not going to see a lot of, like, drop off from the guys who are coming in to replace. Even like you said, even the people had to come in and replace Rashawn Slater, Joel, those are really highly talented left tackles. But to come in and be able to perform and not have a drop off, that's really attributed to the coaching staff.
Yep.
And really to the general manager bringing in players that fit what they're trying to do as a team. It's kind of like what you see with the 49ers all the time.
Yep.
Most guys go down, somebody steps in, and they still have the same level of production. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's been out all year for the Niners, and before Jordan Mason got hurt, he was leading the NFL in rushing yards. So, you know what I'm saying? So as long as you have players who can fill into a role, I think usually you'll be able to coast. And the Chargers do have, a pretty easy schedule the next few weeks. Yeah. So this could really be good in their favor, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with how their identity, because look at what happened. We didn't even really bring it up, but we're going to bring it up right now. Mm-hmm. Jim Harbaugh experienced a very scary heart issue and left the game. In the first quarter, all of a sudden, he went to the blue medical tent, which this is a very rare occurrence. You never see coaches. The only people that you see go in is the coaches or the sideline coaches or whoever get hit. Yeah. And then they have to go in because a 300-pound player just steamrolled in them. But Jim Harbaugh goes into the blue medical tent. Nobody knows what's really going on. And then he leaves for the locker room. So we find out after the fact that he was dealing with a really scary heart issue, atrial flutter, as he called it. And even though he left the game and basically put Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator, in place as the interim head coach for that brief moment, they didn't skip a beat. In fact, when he was talking to reporters after the game, on Monday, he was like, he's like, a lot of players came up and was like, what happened? They didn't even know what happened. So, I think that's a testament to who they are, in the sense that, like, not that they wouldn't know what was going on with their head coach, but at the same time, like, even if they had known, they didn't really let it affect them, in the sense of, like, all right, so if Harbaugh's out, we got to keep going for Harbaugh. And funny enough, I was kind of wondering, like, is this going to be a case of Jesse Minter taking over if Harbaugh's heart issue leads to him having to miss some games? But he had said again on Monday to reporters that it was a battlefield decision in true Harbaugh fashion, and that actually the person more than likely who would take over would be Greg Roman. But he said Jesse Minter was on the field, Greg Roman was up in the booth. So at the moment, he was like, the defense was out on the field. You take over, I got to go. And he left, but he came back, thankfully. Yeah. He got it sorted out, but still a little scary situation overall. But even with that, the Chargers still went up, as I said, 23-0 at the half. They fell off a cliff in the second half, and thankfully they weren't playing somebody other than the Broncos, let's be fair here. But they still defensively and offensively, it was 23-0 in 3 quarters. They still played 3 quarters of great football, and they walked away. They ran away with the victory.
Yeah, and I think the other part too is like dominating time of possession has been kind of the theme throughout the season. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins, again, 96 yards and a touchdown. He might be the Chargers' first 1,000-yard rusher in a long time, and that to me, the fact that they're able to effectively run the football and then balance it out with a passing tag, because to your point too about him, of all the teams in week 6, the Chargers passed the ball the most, 70% pass rate in week 6, the most among any team. And then we still know how effective their run game is. So the balance that they're showing, again, we talked about it before. I am really excited to see this team continue to trend up. I think the wide receiver portion of it is the biggest piece. Like, you need to find a consistent X, but the other things around this team, the defense, the coaching staff, the quarterback, the rushing attack, all of those things are recipes for success. Don't be surprised if they start squeaking on the heels of the Kansas City Chiefs in the division. Obviously, I think that is hard to see them leapfrogging them for the casual fan. However, there's a bunch of factors that kind of go into their favor. I mean, they have a formidable defense. You have the quarterback. You can dominate time of possession. The Chiefs are missing a bunch of offensive pieces. They're relying on Juju Smith-Schuster and a rookie wide receiver to carry them on the perimeter. If I'm the Chargers, I'm kind of licking my chops right now, because you play the Cardinals next week, and then the rest of the way it's like the Raiders. It's not an intense schedule, and this is not like that when Ben Roethlisberger was on his swan song with the Steelers and they won 11-0, and everybody knew that team wasn't worth a damn.
Yeah,
we know that the Chargers have the talent to actually make a postseason run. I think for you and I specifically, the biggest concern for us is the pass catchers. If we're looking at the whole landscape of the team, injury is a bit of a concern, but the pass catchers to me are the biggest. Like, that might be the hole.
I think another one. So I just actually thought of this morning, because kind of breaking news is Hassan Reddick finally got requested a trade from the New York Jets. Finally, the saga of him holding out seems to be on its way to being over. But here's another one. Maybe our next show, maybe we'll be talking about this. I don't know. But trade deadline, November 5th, we already said Calvin Ridley is a great option. There's several other wide receivers the Chargers can target. We can talk about that next time. But I think one of the other issues that they have is their pass rush. They are missing Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa cannot stay healthy. Who's to say that they don't got to try to make a play for Reddick? If they had Reddick next to Khalil Mack, how much more dangerous would this defense be right now? And somebody's going to go for Reddick who wants that playoff push. The Chargers right now, they're missing a couple pieces. But we can see, yes, they have a favorable schedule, but regardless of that, they're still winning the games they're supposed to be winning. So if they're a couple pieces away, go get Calvin Ridley. Go get anybody who can stretch the field for you. One person at least, because that would help the pass game greatly, and Justin Herbert. And go get Reddick. Tell me if they didn't have let's just say they got Calvin Ridley and Hassan Reddick. Who's to say this team wouldn't be one of the best in the AFC after those trades?
So I'm going to be honest. The emotional Jets fan inside of me, Hassan Reddick, you know what you did. It wasn't right. That wasn't right. And I'll say, to your point, our front office might have said some things that they weren't, but you ain't right either. But take my emotions out of it. He changes the defense immediately.
Anybody.
The Chargers defense, I mean, they're immediately changed. He's been one of the most productive edge rushers in all of football. He's an immense talent. I mean, the reality of it is when it comes to a speed rusher in football right now, I don't know if there's a better one in the game. And that's including the Max Crosbys, the Myles Garretts, because they use other things to get to the quarterback. But Hassan, his speed off the ball, his twitch, I mean, he's insane. So I understand his holdout because he knows the type of player he is.
Yeah.
But for the Chargers, he's immediate impact. He actually, to me, becomes their best pass rusher day one.
Absolutely. Like we're saying, I feel like they're a couple pieces away here, but they're a really good football team. Like Jesse Minter made this defense scary already. Jim Harbaugh, the culture that he's instilled, it's showing. Yes, they're 3-2. Yes, they've lost 2 games, but at the same time, they're still showing toughness and grit week after week. Yes, they beat up on the Broncos, but you know what? It's a divisional opponent. Divisional opponents usually give their divisional rivals all the hell in the world. So they beat them. They beat them well. It looked like a very complimentary football team on both sides of the ball, excluding the fourth quarter because they didn't do anything. And the Broncos went for 16 unanswered points, but still, the defense showed up. They're looking good. They're going to continue looking good. So,
yeah, I'm excited for the future of this team. I am. They're going to be good this year.
I agree completely. They're looking like it, and I think they are going to be good.
Yeah, no doubt.
So moving right along, we obviously would be covering the Rams at this point, being that's the LA Football Report, but they're on the bye week. So instead, I actually had the pleasure of talking to Rams color commentator Maurice Jones-Drew, Jaguars legend, about the Rams and their season thus far. They're 1-4, but Maurice Jones-Drew gave me a lot of insight on why it's not time to panic for the Rams and how they're going to figure it out. Check it out right here.
I think, and when you have a 17-game season, going 1-4 isn't as scary as a 16-game, right? And it's crazy what one game can do. But having the bye week now is probably the most important thing. Having early bye weeks for a team that's beat up helps you in the long run. You're going to get Cooper Kupp back. You're going to get Steve Avila back. You're going to get Jonah Jackson back. You're going to get all these guys back offensively. And the best part about that is you think about it, Logan Bruss, Bo Limmer, those guys have had quality reps to step in. They've added depth. And so the biggest thing for the Rams is getting healthy, staying healthy. And I think you'll see them make a run here late in the season like they did last year. So
getting right into our college games, we got the USC Trojans. They lost to Penn State 33-30 in overtime. What did we see? What did we like? What is concerning? Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'll just start it off. This is a game they 100% should have won. They went up 20-3 on Penn State. Defense should have just showed up. I want to give Tyler Warren props because holy poop, what a player.
Yeah,
Tyler Warren,
hell of a player.
Quarterback, running back, tight end, like that dude was all over. Center, he was everything. And that right there is, I want to give him props because he's a great player. Phenomenal game. Yeah. But at the same time, how do you not answer that? How do you not double team? How do you not get more secondary in the middle of the field? He was just running all over them, and he was all over the place, and they didn't have an answer for him for 4 quarters. I don't understand how the USC Trojans defense did not make adjustments even after the half. Warren was all over the place at the beginning of the game, and then they started running away with points in the score in the second half. And, this is something that we brought up before. Again, off camera, we were talking about how the USC Trojans were a second half team. Yep. They flipped it this week. Right. They were a first half team, and then they just fell off a cliff in the second half. But they did score more points, but it was too little too late in the sense that if they had a commanding lead, and if the defense would have just tightened up, they could have field goaled their way through the rest of the game. But instead, they allowed Penn State come back on them, and then the poor clock management. What happened?
So I'm one of the biggest Lincoln Riley apologists.
Yeah.
I've loved his career. I mean, listen, I'm one of those people that look at head coaches as, listen, it's like a chef. You might be a better pastry chef. I might be better with meat or something. You know what I'm saying? And so when I look at Lincoln Riley, his job as a head coach is he's not just commanding an offense. He's not commanding the defense because you have an OC, you have a defensive coordinator. You're trying to command the whole team, make decisions. And so it's not always easy, and you have to rely on your other coaching members of your coaching staff to help you put together a game plan to come out victorious by the end of the weekend. The reason why this loss is so embarrassing to me is, for one, you had a signature win to start the year against LSU.
Yep.
You are in a position to be one of the best teams in the Big Ten. The Michigan loss, didn't love that because you should have beat them. You lose to Minnesota.
That was
embarrassing.
That was the one they should have won too.
Embarrassing again.
Yep.
Embarrassing again. And I said it before, that defense in Minnesota was something that Lincoln Riley was going to have to overcome. And of course, they could not overcome that defense, had to go to Minnesota. And that was embarrassing. Then you go up against Penn State. You start out fast. You start out like the program that we think you can be. And for you to collapse in that manner, and some of the ways that they collapse are just, it's embarrassing. And to Lincoln Riley, you have all the expectations. You're compared to the Ryan Days of the world.
Yeah.
You're compared to the Kirbys. All of the big name coaches that are in college football, that's who Lincoln Riley's name is tied to. And people expect him to win a national championship. James, this guy has had generational quarterback after generational quarterback after generational quarterback, and it hasn't amounted to anything. He's been known for having these potent offenses, and with the biggest knock has been his inability to put together a defense. And I mean, he catfished me to start the season, James, because I thought the defense looked the most improved it's ever been under Lincoln Riley. But then when I watched this game against Penn State, look, I get it. His game isn't meant to understand the X's and O's of a defense. His job is to help his team score points, but you're also the leader of the program. Yeah. When you see Warren lined up as the center, James, it's football 101. Blow him up.
Yep.
Why does he get a free release? It's the tight end.
Yeah.
Somebody named 44 with a 44 jersey number is at tight end. There's nobody's antennas ringing about that.
Yeah.
There's nobody in the sky saying, look, the tight end's playing center. The tight end's been killing you all game.
Yeah.
Where's the mental adjustment? And then the way they manage the clock, I mean, you're on midfield with 3 timeouts, James. All you need is 3 points to win the football game.
To win the football game.
You need 3 points, and you shouldn't even be in this situation to begin with.
Yeah.
But you need 3 points. And then, Lincoln Riley, first of all, they were up 26 at halftime. So they blew a halftime lead. That's already what kills me. The defense, I thought it was improved.
Yep.
But it seems like you still need to go out on the recruiting trail and get better defensive players. And I'm going to say this too. For a Lincoln Riley offensive line, and this is no shot to them young men on that offensive line, but they're not great.
No.
I don't think their offensive line is great. I had concerns, but when they played against Michigan, I'm like, it's Michigan. They got Graham, who's a projected top 15 pick in the first round, one of the best defenses in football. Then they played Minnesota. I give them a little bit more grace because Minnesota's one of the best defenses in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But then you play Penn State. And look, don't get me wrong, I don't think Penn State has a bad defense, but I don't think that is a world beater type of defense.
No.
And for them not to be able to be so easily, pushed back, out physical at times, it's embarrassing. You went from being an 11th ranked team to now you're unranked. Like they don't even, what is USC now?
Yeah.
And so it just feels like their Big Ten hopes are over because you have 3 Big Ten losses now, Michigan, Minnesota, now Penn State. So where do you go from here? And my question to Lincoln Riley is, what is your plan going forward? Are you going to play to develop the next wave? Because, you're not going to a January, December bowl game. You're going to be playing in like the Eggo Waffle Bowl or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Eggo Waffle Bowl.
Yeah, you're playing in the Eggo Waffle Bowl. So it's like, what is your plan going forward? Because next season, it's only going to get worse. UCLA not going to be this bad.
Yeah.
You might have to travel more next season.
Yeah.
This new Big Ten landscape, it stretches from literally the Pacific Northwest to the Northeast. It is a full-blown regional conference. It's not going to get any easier as the years to come. And look, I'm not about to get on this bandwagon to fire Lincoln because I still very much like Lincoln. I think he has a lot of juice.
Yeah.
But this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing.
Yeah, I think you got to put a little bit of the blame too on Danton Lin, the new defensive coordinator brought over from UCLA. Yep. UCLA had a top 10 defense last season. They brought him over specifically to fix the defense. And for, again, like you said, for nobody to have the bells ringing for number 44 is insane to me. Blow him up. Yes. Middle of the field. Put someone there. Anything to stop him from running all over you. He was catching it the middle, the sides, like everywhere, and just all the yards after the catch, And nobody could stop him. And it's so confusing to me that, and vice versa too. You're talking about Penn State not having the best defense. They don't. And look at Woody Marks. Woody Marks went off. Woody Marks had 156 yards, 111 rushing, 44 receiving. So I will push back a little bit on the offensive line issues because they were doing a good enough job to get those running lanes open for Woody Marks to do his thing.
Yeah.
So they're not terrible, but they're not the best. The point being, you're right. With how well Woody Marks was going, was running the ball and catching and everything. The offense was humming. There's no reason that they should have lost this game. And for some reason, we forgot about Jacoby Lane, like 2 receptions. I mean, what happened? You know, Woody Marks was opening the ability to throw the ball down the field, get Jacoby Lane involved. Like, where is he? What is going on? Like, he disappears. You know, again, Woody Marks was doing his thing, but I mean, you know, what's happening here?
So I think one of the reasons why they were able to effectively rush the football is because they have good gap schemes. And I'm going to give Lincoln Riley that. He does understand the rushing aspect of football and the passing aspect. That's why he's really an offensive genius to me. And so when you're an offensive genius, sometimes you can make up for deficiencies around your team. I mean, and obviously the Rams are a bad example because of how decimated they are. But even Sean McVay is able to call plays around a subpar situation. And look, one of the reasons why they couldn't get the ball to Jacoby Lane downfield is because they don't got that much time.
Yeah.
Look, when you're able to intermediately throw the ball, short throw the ball, I mean, James, from the center to the quarterback, it's a short amount of time. You're getting the ball out quick. But to get the ball downfield and to stretch a defense out and to stress them out, you're going to need 4 seconds sometimes. Sometimes you're going to need to wait for somebody to get open. And I love what Marks was able to do, but you're right. I wish Lane was more involved. I wish the passing attack seemed a little bit more potent at times because, you were able to throw the ball intermediately. But when the Lincoln Riley-led offense is able to create multiple explosive plays, that's when they're firing at their best. And I just think they need some minor improvements to their O-line and really more in their pass pro than their ability to run block. I think that's the biggest concern for me. But again, I can look at the defensive coordinator, but you know what I can't look at? 3 timeouts at midfield. Yeah,
that was arguably the worst clock management in all of football. They're at midfield. They have the 2-minute warning. They had the 2-minute warning, mind you, to already set up. Then you have 3 timeouts. The clock is going. You don't use one. It keeps going. You don't use one. It keeps going and going and going, and you still don't use one. You get down to like 45 seconds, and they still didn't use one. We get down to like 25 seconds. Guess who uses the timeout? Penn State. Penn State used the timeout before USC used the timeout. It was so confusing that all they had to do was get another first down, and they could have gone for the field goal, the game-winning field goal. But Lincoln Riley, for some reason, just forgot the fact that he had 3 timeouts. I don't know exactly what happened, but this was the moment where you're like, you know what? They came back, but we're gonna win this game. You're already at midfield. It'd be different if you were at the Penn State's 20-yard line. That's completely different. But you're already at midfield, and you're still getting the ball. You're still getting the ball out. You guys are still moving along. If you would have got 10 more yards.
It's all it would have took was 10 more yards. And the thing is, the reason why I got to put most of this on Lincoln, it's up to him to deal with the momentum of a football game. Listen, I've played in hundreds of football games in my life, and I've been on both sides of it. I've been on a team where the momentum is snowballing and we're coming back and we're about to win. I've been on the other end where we had all this momentum and the other team starts clawing back. And as the team is starting to panic, the coach is kind of panicking as well. Like, when it comes to like being composed, that's what your head coach is for. In that moment, you need your coach to hunker down and find your team a way to win. Because if you lose to Penn State and you lose to Minnesota, you still might find yourself in a position to potentially be in the thick of the Big Ten race at the end of the year. You had to win this game. And for them to squander it in that manner towards the end, I mean, it's just inexcusable by Lincoln Riley. Inexcusable. And again, this is coming from one of his biggest apologists. Inexcusable, by far. Embarrassing loss.
Absolutely. It was embarrassing. I mean, you're right. They, at this point, like college football playoffs, it's getting worse and worse for them. But Big Ten race, maybe.
And I got to say this other part too. Now, I think the Big Ten is over with. I think it is, they're playing for a bowl game, and that's really it. The other thing I want to say, too, because I don't know if Lincoln Riley knows this, but he's 4-8 in his last 12 regular season games. Oof. That's, for a guy like Lincoln Riley, it's not acceptable.
Nope.
It's not acceptable. Nope. Got to get it together, Trojans. Have to get it together. We're not firing you, Coach. I'm not joining that bandwagon. I'm not with you fire Lincoln Riley. You done gave up too much. You done bought him houses. You sold his homes in Norman, Oklahoma. You got him on private flights. You gotta see your investment through to the end. But I'm definitely don't think he's a bad football coach. The way he handled that last drive though, a little brain dead, and it's just inexcusable. You got to take it on the chin. Inexcusable.
Absolutely. Moving right along, we're gonna get into the UCLA Bruins, who honestly, even though they're still losing, they still look they're putting things together. They dropped their game 21-17 on Saturday to Minnesota, but you know what? They're starting to put it together. They had a really hot start. They were 10-0. Garbers was looking good before that tip pass went into an interception. You know, honestly, like the first thing that people might look at is he had 3 interceptions, but all 3 of those interceptions, they weren't really true interceptions. The first one was a tip pass. The second one, very questionable catch. I still think that was an interception. It looked like it touched the ground. That's just me. You know, I don't know.
Video proof. Undeniable video proof.
Undeniable video proof. But to me, it did look like he hit the ground, he scooped it up. Whatever. We're not going to, we won't get into that. Yeah. And then the last one was on the Hail Mary. You know what I mean? I like what I'm seeing. You know, we've talked about this several times before. They're showing fight, they're showing grit, and it feels like they're starting to put things together. Granted, they're still going to have a pretty rough season, but fast forward to 2025, this might be a very good football team once they get those NIL recruits in. You know, they already had a really good recruiting trail before the season began. You know, Deshaun Foster barely took over in March, but look at every week they're getting better. They might have got blown out a few times there, but like Minnesota's still a good team. They just beat USC. Yep. We were just talking about that.
That's defense in Big Ten.
And they gave them issues, and they could have beat them. They could have beat them, but they didn't. But still, they're starting to put things together.
So I'm really impressed by this game specifically. Now, I think you and I both kind of was like, I don't know if they'll win, but we just want to see improvements. We just want to see a better showing than what we've had. And I truly feel this way, that over every week of the season, I have seen something that if you're a UCLA Bruins fan, you should have a level of optimism, because they have improved slightly, I think, in the specific areas. Like, I think that defense is going to be their, like, next in 2025, 2026 season, that defense is going to be their rock. I think they're going to be able to hang their hats on their defense and their physicality on that side of the football. I think if their offensive line improves and, you know, more continuity with Coach Eric Bieniemy, I think the offense will begin to find its way. Because truthfully, you know who has really been very impressive to me? Shout out to my walk-ons out there. To my walk-ons out there, don't let nobody clip your wings. You can be whoever you want to be, play for whoever you want to play for, as long as you put that work in and believe in yourself. Carson Schwessinger, by far the best player on that UCLA Bruins defense. He had 2 sacks versus Minnesota, currently leading the Big Ten in tackles. 4th straight game with 10 tackles.
Whew.
This kid has everything you look. He's playing on Sundays, James.
Yeah.
This walk-on will be playing for an NFL team. Pursuit to the football. Relentless motor. I think he has good ball skills. He is as physical as they come. He is going to be a monster. And I think when you have a guy like him who is, you know, he has different circumstances than some of his other teammates. He's paying out of pocket for stuff. Now, I think because of how impressive he's been, I think some NIL collectives have helped him out, which they should. I mean, he's your best defensive player. But he also seems like, to me, James, he's adopting that Coach Foster mentality, that not that rah-rah. He is the type of coach that likes to run through a wall and just go out there and play football. And Carson is that type of player.
Put your head down and get to work.
Just put your head down and get to work. I mean, that's what this kid is.
We've known that from Foster's interviews. You know, he's a man of very few words, and he just gets the point across. There's no fluff. There's no nonsense. And that's what he's building in this team. And you can already see it, you know, regardless of the team being, you know, like I said, they were blown out a few games there, but they're all starting to gel and starting to work together. You know, I would say Garbers is a little bit of a concern, but those 3 interceptions weren't true interceptions. So let's take that out of the equation. He still played a good football game. You know, they're starting to put things together, and they're all putting their head down and they're getting to work. Yeah,
I am very happy with what I've seen, because this is just a team you want to see improve. a little bit by a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because truthfully, Maurice Jones-Drew said it in your interview. I mean, this is a team, this is a coach that got to a team and he went right from being hired in March and had to go right to spring ball. I've been in that situation before. You didn't have any transfers come in. You are taking what was given to you and you're making it work. And one is admirable because one thing I do love about Coach Foster, he's never gone into the media and put them kids down.
No, never.
He is taken on the team that he's gotten and has made the best of it. There's a lot of coaches out there who take the low-hanging fruit, James, and blame it on all the kids. Oh, we got to recruit better. We got to do this. We got to do that. He's never made that excuse.
Yeah.
Only thing he talks about is that what do we as a team have to do to improve? Now, I will say, Ethan Garbers, the tip pass, not going to put that on him.
Yep.
The DB, I mean, yeah, that second one was debatable, but I'm going to also put it on him a little bit.
That one, to be fair, yes, that was on him. That was a bad throw.
Bad throw.
But I still didn't think that it was an interception, regardless of that fact. Mm-hmm. That was the closest true interception.
Yes.
Because he did throw a bad pass.
But he shouldn't even, but my issue with it is he's a senior.
Yep.
You're a type of team, James, that they can't make too many mistakes because they're not that talented everywhere.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So because of that, they have to win in different ways. They have to win in time of possession. They have to win by, really moving the chains, keeping those minor mistakes, giving their opponent extra possessions for a UCLA Bruins team. It's cardinal sin for them. They can't do that. And the other thing that is killing me, and again, I'm going to attribute this to that offensive line. It's not phenomenal. Been banged up throughout the season. But, their leading rusher was Jalen Berger with 20 yards. And the reality of it is this team was one of the best rushing football teams in college sports a year ago. They have completely fallen off of a cliff from that. But I know that they want to be able to still rush the football, which I like. They still want to be able to do that. There's just going to be some schematic and personnel things that are going to affect how they're able to do that going forward. But for them to, try to get a few wins before the season ends, they're going to need to establish that rushing part of the game because I do think it'll make it a lot easier for Garbers as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Sturdivant went off, 7 receptions, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. Mm-hmm. I mean, they got, Harden had a really, really great run in the second quarter, but too few and far in between in terms of the runs. Get Harden going, get that run game going. And you're right, it'll make things easier for Garbers, but obviously too, the offensive line has got to step up a little bit more, give him more protection, because when he has the time to throw, man, Garbers can let it fly.
He can spin it.
Yeah, he can. He can spin it. And, but still, like I said, it's weird. Every week we're seeing oh man, you're starting to see the glue come up. And we're okay, so we know they're going to get a few wins this season. Yep. I'd be surprised, to be honest. Sorry, Bruins. I'd be surprised if they get 5 wins this season.
Yeah.
But they might. They're showing fight and they're kind of getting out there. And you know what? Every week they're improving. And I've been really impressed watching how they've been progressing through this season so far. Yeah. So I still got a lot of faith. We got a lot of faith in Deshaun Foster. We got a lot of faith in what he's building. They're putting it together, but it's going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. And I think too, listen, he'll be able to recruit. He'll get some, the hard part about switching coaches, and this is just from my firsthand experience. When you switch coaches middle of a season, you kind of divide the locker room a little bit too, because you got those Chip Kelly guys, you got those Coach Foster guys, and now obviously when they're going to speak to the media, they're going to glow about their new head coach. You're not going to say anything. You have to. But there are going to be some just habits and things that are still going to be inherited from the program or the regime prior. And so it's a process. That's all. You got to look at it as a process. But I will say this. I'm more encouraged by what I've seen from them going forward than what I've seen from the Trojans with USC.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I feel like USC has gotten progressively worse. Now, there have been some. So I've been more encouraged by UCLA than I have been by USC thus far. Well, one, because USC, look, there's been a lot of good individual performances by players on this USC team, but the result, and then also too, look, there's expectations. My expectations for USC versus my expectations for UCLA, completely different. We started this year thinking USC could actually contend in the Big Ten. UCLA, it was just kind of we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And so now we've kind of got to see both products on the field. UCLA, you can clearly see that despite them being way less talented than USC, I'm going to tell you right now, James, I will say this right now. USC will get upset by UCLA end of the season.
That would be
By the end of the year, they will get upset by UCLA because UCLA will have hit their stride.
Yep.
That game is going to be their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And USC is going to roll over and think that this team is not going to be good.
Yep.
And they're going to get punched in their face by their rival. And they're going to lose because UCLA, all the turmoil that they've been through is going to get to that last game of the season, James. And I promise you the Bruins are going to come out on top. That's where I'm at right now with these teams.
I'm with you on that one. And you know what? We'll see what happens.
I ain't trying to make a hot take, James. I ain't trying to make a hot take.
Look,
this is from what I'm seeing. This is what the film is showing me. I'm
with you. I'm with you completely. I think UCLA is going to put it together, and they're going to be a good team down the stretch. They're going to be a better team down the stretch.
Yeah, no question.
All right. Here we got all of what the coaches are saying around the league in our coaches' corner. So, as we mentioned before with the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh had a really scary medical issue that he called or that he said is an atrial flutter. It's a type of arrhythmia that makes his heart beat way fast and way slow. He actually talked about it on Monday after the game, after the victory. Here it is right here.
Good. Got it checked out this morning, and that's what I thought it was. I was in the atrial flutter. So the arrhythmia decided to kick back up. So getting it addressed and back at it.
You saw the cardiologist
Today, yeah.
And any like concerns moving forward at all, or is it sort of completely behind you at this point?
Yeah, just have a real good understanding of just what to do, how it needs to be treated with medicine or an ablation or both.
Oh, yeah. As we said, it's a very scary situation for Jim Harbaugh, but he did reveal that he is going to be wearing a heart monitor. And, he had a really funny quote. In typical Harbaugh fashion, he has to joke about everything that happens. And you know what I mean? Like, it's really funny in that this is a really serious medical issue, and Jim Harbaugh is not a young man. So you have a heart issue, that should scare everybody. Like even John Harbaugh, his brother, was in the middle of his post-game press conference, and he got pulled out immediately because they were like, hey, you got to go check on your brother. You didn't know what was going on. But so after Harbaugh explained the medical diagnosis of what it is, he's going to be taking medicine. He's going to be wearing a heart monitor for the next 2 weeks. And he also said that there is a type of surgery that he could get to correct that issue. But in typical Harbaugh fashion, he says, it would take my heart stopping for me not to be on the sideline. And it's like, dude, like only you could joke at a time like this.
Yeah. To be honest, though, James, it's probably one of the best things he could have said. For his team,
Yeah.
Look, football teams, we love any type of source material. Our coaches willing to die for us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's going to get a locker room going. I mean, do you remember when Kirby Smart was telling his Georgia Bulldogs football team that the whole world was underestimating them, and when they didn't lose a game, and everybody thought of them as the favorite to win the national championship? But he legitimately mind-bended his entire locker room to believe that they were underdog, and everybody had them losing to Tennessee and Ole Miss. So I'm like, if you're able to trick your team, give them some new source material, I think for the locker room, they're going to play a little bit harder for Jim Harbaugh. And this is why I like this team going forward. Listen, coach out there with a heart situation with monitors and plugged up and, like the sideboard for y'all. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at that situation, I'm just like, well, the Chargers going to play for their coach a little bit harder come next Sunday. And
I completely agree. And it also works. It's a double-edged sword, if you will. First, they're going to be like, oh man, like he had a heart issue and he's still out here. We got to work harder. And Jim Harbaugh now in practice can go, you better work harder because I'm out here with the heart issue. So you know what? It works double for him. Some of the other great quotes that I got from him talking to reporters. He said it was the best 3 quarters of football we have played, offense, defense, and special teams, which we already talked about. We agree 23-0 in 3 quarters. They kick butt. But also, again, in typical Harbaugh fashion, he had to attribute that quote to this. He said they played crisp, like a crisp graham cracker. I don't exactly know what he means by that because like crisp, I'm like, and it was funny. I was like, crisp like an apple, like you buy him. What is he? When he said crisp and he said I was like, he's gonna say something wild, like a graham cracker.
A graham cracker.
I mean,
like a crisp graham cracker.
like a crisp graham cracker. I don't know if you've ever. That's when you think of the word crisp, you go right to graham cracker. But hey, you know what?
We might have to get a list of like all the Jim Harbaugh isms and just like have a counter like on the bottom of us just going Jim Harbaugh ism. Ding.
Yeah,
ding.
I mean,
how many have a counter because he got a lot of quotables. Doesn't he?
He does. Every week he gives us something to laugh about and gives everybody something to think about, to be honest with you. And, we love him for it.
So in Lincoln Riley's press conference after their debacle against Penn State, obviously reporters were asking him about, how he felt about everything that happened and how does he take responsibility and really like who's to blame for what happened. And he goes on to say, believe me, there ain't nobody taking more responsibility than me. Obviously. I thought his answers were a little redundant. Like I love the fact that he was taking the blame because the majority of the things that he was saying was, I put this loss on me. And look, I want to know what you were thinking. The fans want to know what your mindset was. Going on to the press conference and taking it on the chin, Lincoln, you've been taking it on the chin since you were in Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? Like when you were blowing leads at Oklahoma, when you were losing games with Caleb Williams, everybody has allowed you to go up there and say, we have to play better. We have to execute this better. And we have to do that better. James, I'm tired of hearing that. Fans are tired of hearing that. There's a reason why you're 4-8 in your last 12. When are you going to say that I mismanaged the clock? I was awful with how I decided to go about the last drive.
Yeah. I mean, we actually have a clip of it, him talking about it after the press conference right here.
We were talking about, all right, do we need to use timeouts and stop the clock here? Because all of a sudden it's 2nd and 12. If you don't get anything there, then it's 3rd and 12, and you just potentially bought them, a series, and we weren't in field goal range yet. So, we went back and forth on do we use them and stop the clock or not. And I felt so good about how Mike was hitting the ball that we said, you know what, when we got to, I think it was a 3rd and 6 there at the end, it's like if we convert this, we still got timeouts, maybe go one more shot, and then obviously let him kick the field goal. So how well Mike was kicking it, I think was the biggest reason I wanted to make sure that it was the last possession.
So he was trying to break down. He's like, you're 3rd and 6 or you're 3rd and 12, and then you don't get the first down, and then you're 4th and 12. It was a really weird roundabout way to take ownership of the fact that was a total mishap with the clock. Like you should have been aiming for that first down and taking every single timeout until you got it. And then you get those 6 yards, 12 yards, whatever it was. I can't remember, but you get that first down, and then you have a set of 4 downs after that, and you can spike the ball. You can then give up a down to make sure that you're giving your kicker enough to get. And he was on point. He was on point during the game. So yeah, I don't really, he can say this was my fault, yada, yada, but it's like, you should just come out and say, you know what, that was poor time management on my end, and it won't happen again.
Like, explain your thought process. Please explain the thought. Like, don't just say, look, we love accountability. I'm not mad at you about the accountability, Lincoln. I want to know the mindset. You need to tell us what were you going, what was your creative process, for my artists out there, what was your creative process for that last drive in a game that you need? So ultimately, I love the fact that he took it on the nose, but also I don't love the fact that you couldn't explain to the fans the way you kind of crapped for lack of a better term, you pissed down your leg at the end of the game.
I mean,
you pissed down your leg at the end of the game, and that's just the reality of it. I know that sounds harsh, but that's what happened. You're up 20-3, 26 at the half. You got to win this game.
That's coaching 101. That's coaching 101. That was a total mishap on him. And it was not on anybody but him. They could have got that first down. We know they could have got that first down.
If I keep talking about it, I'm going to get pissed off because, obviously us being in LA, I want to see these teams be good. Like,
absolutely. We
want to see USC have a home playoff game for a chance at a national championship.
I agree.
The fans been waiting for USC to be good since Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush.
I'm checking my metaphorical watch here because I've been waiting. I've been a USC fan for a long time, and I'm like, come on. I know.
Like, come on. We got another quote from Deshaun Foster on their decision to punt the ball from their 12 on 4th and 1. Here it is right here.
Yeah, the field position really dictated the thing. Like you said, they didn't have any timeouts, but were we on the 12? Yeah, I was even on the 12.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think you started on the 3.
Exactly. I was about to put it on like the 20. But the fact that it was on the 12, it was just field position. If we would have had just a little bit more space, then I would have trusted us to go out there and just get the first down. But the way that we were running the ball and just the situations that had happened in that game before coming up to that weren't necessarily ideal. So that situation really didn't play.
So Coach Foster's decision to kick the ball. I mean, he talked obviously from the clip. It's the best decision technically.
Yeah.
But this is a little different. You're 1-4.
Yeah.
Put it all on the table. Roll the dice. You have nothing to lose because you're not expected to go to a bowl game. I think it is very obvious you'll be back here next season. It's 4th and 1. I understand you're on your own 12, but James, they scored a touchdown with 28 seconds left anyway. What would it have mattered if you just go for it? You get the 1 yard. The QB sneak, James, is the most successful
Let me hop in here real quick because, we're talking about what Deshaun Foster is trying to build here, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this just was a sense of the fundamentals. Maybe that was a teachable moment for his team. I'm just saying maybe it was. Maybe it's like, look, I'm teaching them the fundamentals. You do things by the book when you need to do it by the book, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was kind of a silly decision. You're that far down the field. Go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Your players need it.
Yeah.
James, in my head, I get that part. You're trying to win the right way. You're trying to teach your team, look, we have to punt it here because, in a bigger game, maybe next year when they're 6-1 on the season and they're playing Oregon, they might have to kick that and they're expecting their defense to get a stop.
Yeah.
Your defense is giving you a lot, though. Your defense has been your knight in shining armor all season long. So why don't you get them to win? Go for it here and get the first. And I think, too, it's a morality boost, James, for the locker room. I mean, these kids don't like losing. I've been on a losing football team at the Division I level. It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's not fun. And it's demoralizing. And you have to put your pads on, and your pads and your helmet feel a little bit heavier every single time because of the result. The thing that people don't realize, James, is even on the losing teams, these kids work their butts off every day. They go out there and they fight and they claw. They go through training camp. They sweat in the heat. Their bodies break down. It's the same.
Yeah.
So for them, it's like I'm putting all of this work in for it not to pay off on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, yes, if you go for it on 4th down, you don't get it, James, I'm going to be up here still saying I like the decision because of where they're at as a football team.
Yeah.
For a lot of other people maybe on the internet, some UCLA fans, they might hate the decision. It's okay too. It's okay too.
Yeah.
But I just think in this moment, I would have put my players in a position to win because truthfully, they held the Gophers remotely scoreless in the first half. They were kind of surging. The momentum kind of felt like it was, and I think if you go on 4th and 1, you kill the surge. You cut it off at the cord, and we might be really celebrating a Bruins win right now. I mean, we did say it was a possibility in our own private conversation. So looking at this, I mean, I do wish he would have took the gamble, but I'm not mad at his answer for not doing it. And I don't think he was wrong for not going for it. I'm really just playing devil's advocate here because, I mean, why not? What do you have to? I feel like he's playing with house money right now.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they really could have gone for it. They could have got the win, but again, this team is still new. Everybody's still new, working together. They're going to figure things out. So I'll give him the grace, and I will agree that punting it was a good decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, they could have gone.
Why not?
Why not?
Like, James, what do we got to lose? We're playing blackjack right now. Hit. Tell the dealer to hit.
Moving right along, we're going to get right into our power ranking. So, Chargers got a big win. They got a really big win. They're 3-2 on the season. Right now, ESPN has them number 18, bend over movement. CBS Sports has them at 14. They jumped up 4 spots. it seems like right now everybody, is kind of thinking that the Chargers are kind of like a middle ground type of team, 14, 18. To be honest, I think 18 is still too low.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're that low compared to other teams. I think 14 is about where I would rank them. I would rank them somewhere in the 12 to 15 range right now. They've beat up on lesser opponents. Yeah. They've lost to better opponents, but still we're starting to see things come together. Obviously, if they go and get another wide receiver or somebody steps up in that role, that power ranking is going to go up a little bit, of course, with a couple more wins as well. But right now, I'd say, yeah, they're probably in that sweet spot around 15-ish.
I think the media and the people who are making the rankings, I truthfully feel like they're looking at the schedule, and that's we're not sold on the schedule.
Yeah.
And I think what the problem is for other people who have to make these lists, they're watching all the other teams around the league as well. And so I think when they're looking at the Chargers, they say, but what if they had to play the Ravens next week?
Yeah.
And what if they had to play the Detroit Lions next week? How would they fare in those type of football games? What if they had to play a humming Tampa Bay team or, an Atlanta Falcons or even the Minnesota Vikings who are cooking? So I think when it comes to that, the media is kind of like,
Yeah.
But I don't think it's fair though, James, because at the end of the day, this is not that Steelers team. This team can actually win I think can win a playoff game.
Yeah.
They have most of the things needed to, you can't help what schedule you were given. They don't make their schedule. They just get their schedule. It's announced. And then you have to play the opponents that are listed
on your schedule.
Yeah, it's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
And truthfully, if the Raiders just had Derek Carr maybe, or if the Cardinals, people looking at they play the Cardinals next week. I don't really think the Cardinals are chumps.
Yeah.
If you look at their losses, I think they lost to the Green Bay Packers, who have anybody looked at the NFC North?
Yeah.
Every team is good.
Every team is good.
The whole division might go to the playoffs in the NFC. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't think it's fair to crucify a team for circumstances out of their control, especially if they're performing well around it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. They're figuring it out. And just like you said, they're playing the opponents that they were given. And honestly, what separates playoff teams from non-playoff teams is winning those winnable games. Sure, they're getting, we'll see how they're going to do down the line when they play more formidable opponents. But if they string together a few of those wins and they're still getting those easy wins, they're going to go to the playoffs. And the proof is in the pudding. If they win a playoff game, then there you go.
If you win a playoff games, Jim Harbaugh, you are coach of the year.
I mean,
come on.
I mean,
let's be real. If the Chargers are able to win, I don't care if they get in as the wild card, James. Yeah. If they win one playoff game,
we'll see.
Jim Harbaugh, put the future bet in now. Jim Harbaugh, coach of the year. It's no reason why you couldn't. You could go Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at degree of difficulty too. Look, I get it. You could say, well, yeah, it's Justin Herbert. If you saw this Chargers team over the last 3 seasons between the non-existent rushing attack, the non-existent ability to stop anybody defensively. Come on. This team is way different. That's why I'm waiting for them to get a primetime game, because a primetime game for this team, I do think it'll be a good showing for them. Again, I agree. Could use a Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
Hassan. could use a Calvin Ridley. But I think even regardless if those two people don't make it, I have so much faith in Jesse Minter.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best DCs in football. I think he needs a lot more credit for how great of a job he's done. And so I can't wait to see this team at the end of the season.
I'm sure next week, if they get another big win, the power rankings are going to jump up. They're kind of right where they should be, so to speak. 18's a little low, 14's about right. But, there you go. Thank you guys so much for joining our show. We're going to be doing this each and every week, twice a week. So please do us a favor, subscribe, go follow us at LA Sports Report on YouTube, LA Sports Report on Instagram. We're going to be waiting and wanting you guys to hit our polls, give us your hot takes for all of the teams, Chargers, Rams, USC Trojans, UCLA Bruins, all of that good stuff. So please do us a favor, do all the social media stuff you got to do, subscribe, hit that bell, do all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And we hope you like what you see. We're going to keep doing it each and every week.
Let's go.